Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally sounds like science fiction: shape memory aligners. Now, if you've ever dealt with braces or you've been looking into getting your teeth straightened, you already know the drill, right? It's traditionally a process full of discomfort, it takes forever, and honestly, it doesn't look great. But what if we could just completely toss out that old playbook using some next-level material science? I mean, think about it. What if your own body heat could straighten your teeth? Imagine a material that actually uses your natural body temperature to completely, painlessly guide your smile right into place. No tightening wires, no brute force, just a really smart material interacting with your body's natural heat. We're unpacking a totally new approach today that feels super futuristic, but spoiler alert, it's actually available right now. So to really appreciate this, let's look at Section 1, the orthodontic dilemma, covering our traditional methods. Because for decades, we've basically relied on pain to fix crowded teeth. When we compare the classic options, on one end of the spectrum, you've got your chunky metal brackets and wires. And sure, they work, but they cause pretty much constant pain, you can't eat what you want, brushing is a nightmare, and obviously, they visually dominate your face. Then on the other side, you've got the early generation of clear plastic aligners. And yeah, they look a lot better, absolutely. But underneath it all, they're still relying on that old, outdated mechanism of just brute force. See, traditional braces mean ongoing discomfort, but standard thermoformed aligners, those clear plastic ones we're all used to seeing, have their own hidden issues. Basically, they're just rigid pieces of plastic stamped over a mold. To move a tooth, they apply a ton of localized pressure. That means you get that sharp, awful pain every time you pop in a new tray, and even worse, it often causes the teeth to awkwardly tilt over instead of moving straight down the root. Oh, and to get that plastic to actually grip, your orthodontist has to glue these awkward, ugly little resin attachments directly onto your enamel. It's essentially this microscopic, painful tug-of-war happening inside your mouth. Which brings us to the real game changer, Section 2, meet SMA, or shape memory aligners. This right here is where we completely shift away from analog force and step into the world of smart materials. At a glance, sure, it might look like your standard clear aligner, but this is actually Graphie's patented, customized, temperature-activated smart material. And get this, there's no mold involved whatsoever. It's created entirely through advanced direct 3D printing, layer by layer exactly to the specs of your treatment plan. The absolute secret sauce here is the material itself. A shape memory material is exactly what it sounds like. It literally remembers its shape. When you drop it into warm water, it becomes totally soft and pliable. But as it cools down, it actively tries to return to its programmed 3D printed shape. By tuning this exact material to react to human body temperature, it gently but firmly grips the teeth as it cools. So instead of a sudden, painful push, you get this really consistent, continuous light force. Okay, so how does this actually play out day to day? Let's check out Section 3, how temperature moves teeth. The daily routine for a patient is so simple, but honestly, it's a totally new experience. Step 1, you just dunk the aligner in warm water for about a minute. That makes the material completely soft. Step 2, you take this newly flexible, soft aligner, put it over your teeth, and just press it gently into place. No snapping, no clicking, zero forceful shoving. And then Step 3, within seconds, as the aligner cools to your natural body temperature, the magic happens. The shape memory activates. It begins to gently firm up, perfectly molding right to your teeth and applying that targeted force. And because you're putting it on while it's soft, it can reach spots that rigid plastic just can't. Once it hits the natural heat of your mouth, it essentially shrink wraps around the entire tooth, going all the way down to the gingiva, the gum line. It covers all those little undercut areas so you get precise, slip-free fixation. Older aligners usually leave this annoying gap near the gums, but this smart material just hugs the entire crown of the tooth perfectly. Now, let's talk about my favorite part. Section 4, no more attachments, which means ditching those annoying resin bumps. That exact shrink wrap effect we just talked about completely eliminates the biggest complaint people have with clear aligners, those glued-on resin attachments. When you get rid of those, you get rid of enamel damage because there's nothing to grind off at the end of your treatment. You get way better natural aesthetics, meaning your teeth actually look like your teeth. And you don't have to deal with the discomfort of sharp little bumps tearing up the inside of your lips. So how does it move teeth without the bumps? Well, the SMA uses invisible internal 3D printed pressure areas. The software literally just thickens the inside of the aligner by a fraction of a millimeter right where pressure is needed, leaving the outside completely smooth. And the visual proof is just striking. Without those bulky, awkward resin pieces catching the light and drawing attention, the treatment is genuinely invisible. You get to walk around with a completely natural-looking smile, while all the heavy lifting is happening quietly in the background thanks to that temperature-activated material.
All right, so it looks great, but does it work? Let's look at Section 5, faster results and pain-free treatment.
The numbers on this are genuinely staggering. 99.6%. That is the treatment efficiency rate for shape memory aligners. Look, in the world of orthodontics, human biology is notoriously unpredictable. So hitting nearly 100% of your planned tooth movement in just a single phase, that is a massive leap forward. Just to put that into perspective, your standard thermoformed aligners usually hover around an 87.5% efficiency rate. So why the huge gap? Well, rigid plastic tends to push teeth from the top, right? And that causes them to tilt awkwardly, rather than moving the whole tooth root. Because of that, you end up needing multiple refinement phases, which is really just industry speak for printing more trays to fix the mistakes of the first set. But since the SMA shrink wraps the entire tooth down to the gums, it prevents that awkward tilting. The planned movements happen way more accurately, usually wrapping up in a single treatment session. The really wild takeaway here is that gentler actually translates to faster. See, standard aligners use excessive force, and that causes pain. When people are in pain, what do? They take the aligners out. They miss their wear goals and basically sabotage their own treatment. But shape memory aligners use continuous light force. Because there's zero pain, patients actually hit their 20-hour daily wear goal without a second thought. And better compliance naturally equals faster, more predictable results. And hey, this pain-free efficiency isn't just for tiny little cosmetic tweaks. This tech is successfully tackling really complex cases. We're talking intricate bite issues, deep bites, cross bites, even extractions. The system handles it seamlessly, just by dynamically altering that 3D printed thickness to steer the teeth precisely where they need to go, completely eliminating the need for supplementary metal or glued-on attachments. So, if you remember just one phrase from our explainer today, make it this one: continuous light orthodontic force. That is the absolute core philosophy of the Graphy SMA system. It fundamentally respects the biology of your mouth. It totally proves that we don't have to rely on the brute force of metal wires or stiff plastic just to get a perfect smile. By actually prioritizing your comfort, this tech ends up maximizing clinical efficiency.
Which really just leaves us with this one final thought. We're living in an era right now where advanced 3D printing and smart memory materials have teamed up to completely wipe out the pain, the ugly attachments, and the sheer frustration of old-school orthodontics. If a material can soften in warm water, mold flawlessly to your teeth, and literally use your own body heat to gently pull your smile into perfect alignment, well, is it time to let your own body heat upgrade your smile? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity about the amazing future of dental tech.